Today, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite principles. And this one principle is something that I have built my entire business on over the last 7 years. And it's also the reason why people are so responsive to me anytime that I put out any type of content. And that principle is called pipeline equity. Okay. Now, before I get into it, there's probably some people who don't know who the heck I am. Well, if you're new to my channel, my name is Laurel Porte. I'm the owner of adcoachingfor7.com, where I have now taught over 17,000 business owners how to launch simple $5 ads in order to grow their business. Now, in this video, I'm going to break down why pipeline equity has helped me go from a full-time employee working for someone else to building my own $4 million business right here, utilizing simple $5 ads. Now, what the heck is pipeline equity? Okay, let me explain this principle. So the best way that I can explain it is right now, I want you to think. We all have that one friend that every time we see them post on social media, we scroll on by. Why do we scroll on by? Well, it's likely that that person, every time they post, they're either doing something that is super political that we don't like, or maybe they are making a sales pitch, right? We all have that one friend that we're like, oh my God, I know what this person posted. Okay. That person has pretty much overdrawn on their pipeline equity. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay. So pipeline equity means that we want to have a balance of goodwill and direct sales content. Okay, so let's just talk about this from a business sense. What we want to make sure of is that we are putting out enough value content. Now, I know a lot of people think that they're putting out a lot of value, but hopefully this video will explain why you might not be putting out as much value as you think. Okay, so whenever I worked in television, we didn't have a station that ran commercials 24/7. Why? Well, no one would probably watch it, with the exception of, I know QVC probably does pretty well. But most television stations, they want to have a 75% goodwill, putting out value content, versus 25% of commercial content, right? We want to apply that same thing to our business. We can't have 24/7 goodwill because we need to make money, right? At some point. And so I like to have that balance of 75% goodwill and 25% pitch, right? We want to make a little bit of money. So if you understand this principle, you're going to make more money long term, because this is based on principle. Now, there's a lot of tactical things that you can do in order to make this work, but you have to understand what we're doing here is goodwill. The Goodwill equity deposit is the reason that my Black Friday offer did so well. Now, a lot of you guys are probably saying, well, Laurel, your Black Friday offer was free. But here's the deal. Even free offers need Goodwill equity deposited before people will take you up on it. I'll explain. How many of you guys pretty much skip webinars? You skip the ebook downloads. You might not have in the beginning, but now we're more sophisticated to that type of stuff. So you skip the opt-in because you know on the other side of that opt-in is a sales pitch, right? Here's the deal. Over 2,000 people asked me for my free thing, even people that have never talked to me before. Why? It was because weeks before I put out that free offer, I spent time putting out tons of goodwill content, valuable content, not asking for my audience to take any action, just here's what's wrong, here's how to solve problems. And I just spent weeks building and building and building and depositing goodwill. So whenever I made my free offer, no one batted an eye or was armed thinking Laurel's going to sell me something. What they were thinking was, damn, Laurel puts out a lot of valuable content, and then now she's giving me a free offer for Black Friday. And most people didn't even know what the offer was, but they wanted it. Why? Because I pre-framed them with a ton of goodwill, because I knew that if I put out a free Black Friday offer just randomly, people would probably wouldn't care that much, right? A lot of people are giving away things for free, but I spent weeks building that pre-frame and building goodwill equity. And so pipeline equity is basically just what percentage of goodwill do you have in your content deposit versus sales content. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you're someone who's having issues having messenger conversations with people, this is a huge part of it. And that's why it's important to understand that entire principle, because I have pre-framed my audience through my Goodwill content that my audience knows I'm on the other side of that DM. They know that there's an invitation for a conversation on the other end of that DM and not a sales pitch. That takes a lot of pre-framing. That takes a lot of Goodwill equity. And so if you're struggling right now with having DM conversations, try pre-framing your audience with more Goodwill content. Let them know, hey, I'm on the other side of that DM. It's not a bot. It's not any automation. It's me. That's why people respond to my DMs. That is why people respond to my two-step post, because they know if they comment, Laurel is on the other side of that DM and I'm going to be able to ask Laurel a question. That is an opportunity. But that took a lot of pre-framing. So hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of this video, and I will see you guys on the next one.